so I wanted to talk about The Mummy because, oh boy, was that a movie. Now, okay, so we're immediately introduced to two guys. Basically, Tomb Raiders, in my opinion. They're in the army, but they like go off on their own and steal like ancient relics and try to sell them because they're not great guys. There's the funny guy. There's Tom Cruise and Explorer. So it's Vale, Nick, and Jenny. Okay. So there's an airstrike, and whoops, by plot convenience, they find that secret location that Tom Cruise is looking for because he stole Jenny's note when they went and okay. So they go inside and immediately they start like, oh yeah, this is great, because Vale, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. He's like, Nick, Tom Cruise, you wasted our time. Like, this is an old relic. There's nothing. There's just statues. And when they finally go to the actual like tomb location, he's like, oh my god, you're right. And they immediately just start trying to steal things. And it's funny because there's a part where Nick is about to steal like a ring in plain sight of Jenny, and Jenny's like, really? And I'm like, aren't you supposed to be like this renowned, like skills and stuff? Like, okay, whatever. So they kind of show you this type of like scene to make sure you know that they aren't the greatest dudes. And then they find out, oh, it's not a tomb, it's a prisoner. And Tom Cruise, he is shown that he really doesn't think. He just kind of does things without thinking of repercussions. And here's my pet peeve in all movies when they open ancient tombs. I think it's really stupid because they have no idea what could be being held in this specific scenario, in this prison that she's already talked about, how there's these chains and mercury and all these things being used to like keep whatever is in there, and it's like it could be a plague or who knows what. I mean, literally the latest Tomb Raider movie, Lara Croft, they spun it instead of being a supernatural thing. Also spoilers, even though that movie came out a while ago. It was actually a plague or like something like that, and it was contaminating, and so they kept it hidden. So like when they open things without thinking about it, I'm like, really? Do you really need to see it right now? Like, does it really need to happen? But whatever. And for some reason, I was like, okay, it has a connection with Nick, but I mean, I guess because he freed her, so it just was like, obviously, he's gonna be my next chosen one, I guess. Kind of sloppy work, but whatever. And the next shot, they're flying out the tomb, which we have no idea how they got it free from the suspending mercury-soaking little pool beneath another chamber, because this chamber that they find is under another chamber, and they said that the mercury is highly toxic for people, so how did they get that chamber out? And I guess, yeah, you can interpret that maybe they brought down other military guys, but they don't really show that. They only show that's those three. So it's like, how did they just drag that thing all the way out? Like, okay, sure, whatever. And I know that's like partly like, oh, you don't need to be like, bottle fed and you can suggest it, but like show a little more people to me being like, oh, like show me a military guy coming out and then like, oh, okay, so they brought a team down because their sergeant or whatever general is on the phone or the radio, I mean, being like, oh, we need to leave right now because there's like bad stuff coming. So you're telling me that he was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll spare 10 men to go down, like whatever. And then there's just a bunch of crows. Like, if you ever needed clarification that evil things are going to happen or are happening, they're showing evil crows or ravens. I don't know the difference between those two animals, but they're there. And Vale, I have no idea. He isn't doing too great because he got bitten by a spider that supposedly isn't poisonous, but I mean, it did come out from, where that evil tomb was. So, yeah. He basically dies in the first 30 minutes. And when you notice, like, holy moly, well, how did I PG myself? It's only been 30 minutes, and this is all that's happened. Like, I was like, really? Like, it went slow. And they're like 5 soldiers on that huge plane. There's only 5 soldiers. And I'm like, why? Where the heck? Like, on the ground, they showed that there were a bunch of them. Did they just leave them out there in the sandstorm? Like, what the heck? And then the Jenny, who she's like the archaeologist, or I don't really know, but she makes him feel bad. And I can't believe she actually succeeds with making him feel bad. Like, we're supposed to believe that he's like this hardened kind of criminal, doesn't care about anything, and then, oh sure, like, he gets emotions, like, what? She says, it's my dream. You were gonna sell it on the black market. How much does that cost? Like, why would that work on him? Why would he care? And they try to make it seem like, oh yeah, that one night stand, like, he had feelings for, like, okay, like, no, like, stop. And then they kill like maybe 4 soldiers or something. I mean, I don't know. Some soldiers are killed. And then the plane starts to crash. And obviously Tom survives this because he's the chosen one. Well, actually he dies and then he's kind of brought back, but you know, he doesn't die because he's the chosen one. And then Tom Cruise physique. That is literally a note that I have on my note app is Tom Cruise physique. That's it. And then the next one is, they really got Mr. Girl Next Door to be a zombie. Like, this was the dumbest thing I have, like, why was this a creative choice? Like, why, like, I get it, but it came off so cheesy, so corny, like, they didn't even try to make his personality, like, more serious. They kind of kept him being, like, a funny dude, so it was, like, what? Why? And then, why does Alan get so close to the mummy? So we see that these like paramedics get there to the scene because they're, you know, the plane crashed, so there's a lot of like sites to go and see if there's any, you know, alive people or to see, you know, if stuff has happened. And so Alan, one of the paramedics, I think he's a paramedic. I don't know. He's something. He gets there and there is the dead mummy, obviously. And he just gets so close to it. And I'm like, for what reason? I mean, logically that thing would not smell good. I would be like, what? Maybe that mummy has a bunch of cockroaches. Who knows? Like, why would you get so close to it? Why? And then this mummy just be kissing and stealing life forces like no business. I don't know why they made it out that she had to kiss people to take away the life forces. I felt like, would it have been done if the mummy was a dude? Probably not. That was like, why? They could have just made her like for example, like the mummy, the mummy with Brendan Fraser. I remember there's a scene where he just holds their like face and like their mouth is open and then he rejuvenates. And I'm like, see, they could have done that. And maybe they would have been like, oh, but it would have been looked too much like the mummy. But why did they get the girl mummy to make out with everyone? Why? Vale, whatever his name is, literally a comedic zombie. That is who he is. It's like the most completely unnecessary little moment between Nick and Val. And it's just like, why, like, who was like, oh yeah, sure. Like, I was like, what am I watching? This isn't a scary, like, this is supposed to be like a scary movie of like the dark universe. And I'm seeing a conversation between zombie Vale and Nick in a comedic light. And I was like, what? And then like there's a bunch of rats and more making out. And I'm in an hour in at this point, and it's really dumb, and I'm like, oh my god, it's only an hour in, and Jenny doesn't do much. Her character, at this point, doesn't do much. She's just kind of there, she's just kind of like, okay, and, oh my god, there's a ridiculous part where Nick grabs a large stick, like, you know, he just grabs a large stick, because he's like, sure, I'm gonna, you know, beat this zombie to death, I mean, the mummy. You see that I'm confusing zombie and mummies because the mummy kind of makes her mummy army look like zombies. And I mean, I guess that's too expected. Mummies and zombies kind of look alike, but Tom Cruise is like, yep, I'm gonna, you know, hit her with a stick. That'll do something, even though we've seen her powers of manipulation and being inside his brain and just all these things. A stick is what's gonna do her in. And then Jenny, oh my god, this was a moment where I was like, who wrote this dialogue? What is this ridiculousness? She literally starts yelling, chanting, going like, get her, Nick. And I'm like, girl, what is happening? These other dudes and like black ops come and they like, you know, harpoon her like she's a whale, and they like, you know, shoot him with like a dart to like, you know, knock him out. And then they bring him to this like institute where it's supposed to be like this institute that, you know, studies monsters. And we are met with someone named Henry Jekyll. And at this point, I didn't know his whole monster persona. So at first I was like, they're really rubbing our noses with the name Henry Jekyll. What? Obviously, I'm like, what the heck is happening? What? Okay. And then I'm like, what am I watching? What did they make Russell Crowe do? But he gives us a tour, right? Henry Jekyll gives us a tour of this facility. We see that there's like a bunch of, things in jars and being conserved. And he says that he, gets the monsters, tests them out, and then experiments and then destroys them. And then you see the mummy, and you kind of feel bad for her because she literally looks like she's a strung-up chicken, and she looks like she's a science experiment. Like, she's there giving you this manipulation of pity and being like, and you kind of feel bad for her, and I'm like, wow. Okay, I do want to say, like, one of the top actors, obviously apart from Tom Cruise, is the mummy. This woman was amazing. I was like, you know what, you did so much with that role. Applaud you. But yeah, you feel bad for her, and on top of that, they're pumping her with a bunch of mercury, and then they start like giving her like, because she and Tom have flashbacks, like she can like bring him and show him like the past and all that stuff. And then moving on to the romance plot between Jenny and Nick, I'm not interested in it. I don't get why we have it. Like, it's like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, she literally says, I care about you, you're a good man on the inside, and I'm like, what the heck is this? Is like the most boring thing. And then she mentions, like, oh, there was only one parachute and you gave it to me, right? And so I wrote, wait, the only parachute? This militarized airplane carrier, whatever, only had one parachute? And then he drops the bomb of, he thought there was another parachute. And honestly, I love that because they committed to his character not giving a shit. But then they ruined it by trying to throw and force down my throat the whole Jenny and Nick love plot that I'm supposed to believe later on he sacrifices himself for her. Okay, like I said, the mummy is an amazing actress. I loved her, and they were super underqualified to hold her. Now, Jekyll talks about how it was very they had no time to arrange for her to, come alive, and they had zero time to arrange her holding, and that's why it looks a little kind of, basic, because they have her in like the open area with like nothing to hold her back, just her being pumped with mercury, and they're like, are they forgetting that she's supposed to be this super powerful being that Set gave her this dagger and these powers? Are you forgetting this? Like, the god of death was like, here girl, like, are you? Okay, whatever. Now, like I just said, they totally forget this, and of course, she escapes. She literally commands a little beetle to go into a man's ear, and that man starts turning off the mercury that is being fed to her, and then goes and electrocutes himself to cut the power out, and she escapes. And I'm like, oh my god, we totally did not see this. And then we see that Dr. Jekyll, oh my god, he's a monster. What a hypocrite, right? Because he's like, we should kill all the monsters, yet he's a monster, and he doesn't view himself as a monster, even though he is a monster. And he has to inject himself, and then there's like this fight, and it's like kind of boring, because it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, we see more Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise, and then Jenny, I don't know. Okay, so then we see her being outside in the real world, and I'm like, no, we're talking destruction on a full scale. This is what I wanted to see. Interaction with the real world. This is what I wanted. And you know how long it lasted? Like 2 minutes. I'm like, I wanted to see the mummy in real life. I wanted to see her destroy, well, they were in London, so I guess wherever she was staying, I wanted to see her destruction and how powerful she is. And no, they just show her with Tom Cruise, and then they just show her with random people. And like, yeah, she has cool powers, but I'm like, you could have done so much more on the larger scale, and it would have been so much fun. But whatever. Like I said, she's a real star, and I would have wished that they would have made her one this whole entire debacle. Like, she would have been the one who, just triumphed. But no. Okay, my next note is literally, oh my god, I'm so over this Jenny-Nick love plot. Like, it's the dumbest thing. And they make Jenny a damsel in distress, which is, ugh, I hated this. And then they show her dead, and at this point, I don't believe that she's dead. I mean, she is, but I just don't believe it, and I don't feel bad. And that's the problem, not with the actress, not with the character, just the way that the character was placed in this movie. you don't care for her. You don't feel like, oh my god, she died. No, you're like, okay, whatever. Like, clearly Nick is not in love with her, but apparently he's like, yeah, sure, I'll sacrifice myself, and I'll be the chosen one, and I'll let Set, or whatever, demon king inside of me because of her. Like, sure, whatever. And at this point, I'm like, just get it done already. I do not care. And then, this line was like, oh my god. So, Ahmanet, right? The mummy, she and Tom are having these moments. And I don't know why, I guess maybe it's part of the, whatever the deal, that she has to convince him to consent to her, stabbing him and being on her side. I have no idea. And he literally, this is the dialogue, to kind of say no to her, he says, it's not me, it's you. What in the world? So she throws him across, and then she notices that he stole her dagger, because, he's a thief. But the thing is, they have never told us that he is, like, a thief with, like, a sleight of hand. They've never showed us this. They just showed us that he was sneaky and that he stole ancient relics. That is it. They didn't show us that he was, like, this conniving, sleuth person that can steal someone's dagger right in front. Like, she was not in love with him. Don't tell me that she was like, oh, Ahmanet was so in love with Nick that she didn't know. Like, no. And then he's like, oh my god, because she tells him, like, you will have power over the dead and the living. And then he looks at, Jenny, and I'm like, do not tell me. And he does. He stabs himself. So he's basically set now. He's literally set. Like, okay. So we see that he's kind of fighting who he is and who Set is. And I'm like, do not tell me that the love he felt for Jenny overpowered the literal god of death. Like, stop it. Do not tell me that Tom Cruise, Nick has this, since he has this overtly over-the-world top love for Jenny, that somehow made Set take a backseat in his body. You're really trying to tell me that's what happened? Just this moment of, okay. And then I wrote, he literally kissed her to death. This is the dumbest thing ever. It is. The dumbest thing ever. Like, and you know what? Even though I did say, like, really they have Ahmanet, kissing everyone, at least they made Tom do the same thing to her. At least that transferred, I was like, okay, you know what? At least he killed her with the kiss of death. Fine. Keep it equal. But stupidest thing, like, they made her so strong, and then to, like, oh yeah, it was, whatever. And then, literal note says, oh wow, she's alive. I care so much. Wow. Literally, it made no difference to me that Jenny was alive. I did not care for this love plot at all. And it was the dumbest shiz that they really killed Ahmanet for this. And then, you see that he brought back Veil. And now he's going to become an adventurer to find a cure. And then I said, heckle, he's back in his monster museum, whatever, and he's the biggest hypocrite because he's literally a monster, saying Nick is gonna turn evil because he's a monster, but Heckle is also a monster. And I'm like, do you not see how hypocritical it is? And then Jenny's still working for this man for God knows what reason. She's like, we have things in common, like, what? And she's like, we're gonna need him in the future for the fight or the war or whatever dumb thing that they're. And then my last note is, I can't believe that I watched this. And the thing is, I remember being so excited for the movie. Like, I watched the trailer, and, like, obviously they showed, like, the best parts. They showed her being out in London and, like, the destruction. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be so cool. Like, think about it, a cursed, like, mummy, out in the real world. And then they focused it all into small, like, locations, people, and it was like, really, and the humor just was like, why? You could have done it more, like, I don't know, everything was so off that I was just like, no wonder this dark universe didn't really take off. I don't like the dialogue, maybe the way the character, like, I don't know, not even Tom Cruise being in this movie could save this movie. I got hiccups. But yeah, it was, like, I watched this movie and I was like, I cannot believe I'm still watching this movie. I want it to end. It was the dumbest. Like, I really wish they just would have let Ahmanet win. Like, that would have been the perfect, like, she just, you know, Tom becomes the chosen and she wins and they just, you know, destroy a bunch of stuff. And then, you know, Jenny, I guess maybe they could bring her back if they really need her, but none of these characters felt like I care about them. It was like, whatever. The romantic plot did not, like, why? Like, they should have made it, honestly, I don't even know how to fix this movie. I'm no one to be able to say that I can fix this movie, but, like, I don't know. If they really wanted the whole romance plot, they should have literally just made them, like, an married couple, like a divorced couple that stopped, you know, that got divorced because he was always working and they didn't have time, but they still felt love for each other. Something like that, that you could have been like, oh, okay, so, you know, they've had this past, I don't know, they would have been married for 5 years or 10 years or whatever, so that's, you know, you understand why he would risk everything for her. But you're telling me a romance of, like, maybe a day? Oh, now they just are completely in love with her. He's changed her ways, and now he's a beautiful human being. Like, and the comedic zombie. Vale, just, why? What the heck? Why? Like, I don't... Why? Why do the comedic zombie? It made no sense. Like, they should have, considering he was killed, not a great, like, it wasn't like a horrible death, he was shot, but they should have made him more monotone, more like if it was actually Ahmanet possessing him, not he's just there for some reason to maybe convince Ahmanet, to convince him to go to Ahmanet. I was just like, what the heck is happening? I am so disappointed because I really wanted a dark universe. It'd be so funny if I'm calling it a dark universe and it's not actually called that. But whatever. I'm still disappointed in this movie, and I'm actually really happy that I watched it on Netflix and not in the movie theaters, because I would have been so sad that I had spent my money on this movie. That's how not great it was. Like, I'm not even kidding. It just did not rose to the occasion of anything. But if you haven't watched it, I don't even know if you should watch it if you have nothing else to watch. Maybe, I don't know, like, just have it in the background. If you're having, like, you know, friends over and you're just like, I don't know, man, it's just not good. That's just my review. This review started out of me explaining the movie and then it just turned into me reviewing the movie, but this has always been a review. But yeah, this movie was not good. Not good. I love Ahmanet. I love her actress. Russell Crowe, I don't know what he was doing in there. The part where Tom Cruise is fighting a literal monster, don't get why that was in there. Maybe, the thing is, I thought, oh, maybe that's to, like, Jenny so she can open her eyes and be like, this organization isn't for me. But then she's literally there at the end, so I'm like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to stop this because I feel like if not, this is going to ramble forever. But this movie was just, no, not good. No. Hopefully, I don't know, baby, I don't know. Hopefully this wasn't so bad that they're not going to do another, you know, Dark Universe movie. But, oh god, this was not, like, Brendan Fraser movies, they were good. Because they also did destruction on a wild scale level as well. I think that's what they, you know, if it's Dark Universe, sometimes the bad guy should win. Just saying. Next time, bad guy wins. Next time, show more wide-scale destruction. Especially it's something like The Mummy, where you're just like, the first thing that you think of, okay, what would a mummy, cursed mummy, with, like, powers, what would they do in the real life? You know? Like, she could have, like, done a bunch of plagues, and I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I'm gonna stop, but, if you got to this part, like, what did you think of the movie? Did you hate it? Tell me you hated it. No, I'm kidding. If you liked it, also tell me you liked it, because movies aren't universal experience. Not everyone's gonna hate the same movie. Not everyone's gonna like the movie. And believe it or not, like, even though I did not have fun watching this, and I can't believe that I actually watched this, I didn't hate it just because I loved Ahmanet. I loved her so much. But anyways, that is it. I'm really glad this is gonna be, like, my first video in the new year, because I feel like this is a good start. I think this is my first video that I'm gonna upload, but yeah. Bye!